Hi, my name's Dr. Karen Phillip, and thank you so much for coming here today to learn about how to balance work and life. It's a problem that many people face, particularly females in this day and age. We work, we also have children, most of us, we look after our home, our partners, our kids, and when do we ever have time to look after and care for ourselves? Well, that's what this is about. So I'm going to go through some steps and share with you some ways that you will be able to learn how to do this and how to learn to actually engage your family and your children to help out in your household tasks, something that many women struggle with on a daily basis. So who am I? Well, I've been a successful relationship therapist and mediator for almost 20 years. I've worked with many people who experience relationship issues, and I find that if we can address the problems early on, before they do a lot of damage, then most of the time we can resolve and dissolve these issues quite easily and quite quickly. So I've specialised in working with issues that women face while trying to balance their work and life. These are some of my qualifications. There's a whole range of them there that you can go through, too many to really mention today. I'm the author of a couple of international books, one for relationships and one on parenting. I'm often in local and overseas magazines and newspapers. I have been on all of these shows, featured in these magazines and newspapers as well. And I'm often on the Today Show mornings and feature regularly on 2GB in Australia. Now, if you read this, women's lives have become more like men's over the last 35 years. Now, that's in relation to work, education and independence. Now, according to a 2010 Working Mother survey, 40% of working women drink heavily to cope with the stress of working and managing their home, and 57% that they've misused prescription drugs. And this is from Everyday Health magazine. Now, the hard-won freedom of choice has imprisoned women where they're now in an exhausted generation trying to do it all. And I think from the nods, most everyone would agree with that. Now, equality in all areas remains a future dream for females, unfortunately. So, can we do it all? We have our career, our children. We want time with friends, manage our finances. We need to go shopping. We do the cleaning. We have our partner to spend time with and care for. Our family. We may have study. Then we have housework, cooking. We're the main carer. And what about ourselves? When do we ever get time for us? Now, up until the 1960s, women were the wife and mother. They knew exactly where they stood. They stayed at home, they provided care for their husband and children, they looked after the house, they cooked and they cleaned and they attended to their family. They didn't have to use their brain. They had very few rights. And they had little ongoing education. It wasn't offered. Their expectations were clear and their position was known. Now, after the 1960s, women expected more. They entered tertiary education, began more senior roles, they progressed in their career. Women expect to be able to do it all. Yet, women still remain the main homemaker, main parent and main carer. They're expected to undertake home and care duties. They assume to be the main parent raising their children. Now, tell me, any of you, who has ever not been called from a school or a childcare centre when the child is ill or had an accident? Women are always the first person that are called, not the dads, the women. You could be even doing a brain surgery, yet you will get the phone call. So they often remain financially behind the male. Research has shown us that women, on average, earn 30% less than their male colleagues doing a comparable job. So, what's changed in 50 years? So, do you work? And I presume most everybody here would be working. Are you the main parent for the children? Are you the main homemaker? Are you the chief laundry person, cook, cleaner, shopper? Do you sort out the arguments between the children and family members? Are you the first person that everyone comes to? And are you the family taxi service? And I'm sure from all the nods, yep, on each and every one of those counts. So therefore, the inequality remains. And this is from the OECD, and we're all in OECD countries, and this research comes from there, that mothers typically provide physical, personal childcare and housework while the fathers spend more time on some educational and recreational activities with the children. Even the non-working fathers devote less time to caring than working mothers do. And the gender pay gap and the earnings, they're saying 16% on average in OECD countries, yet that does escalate to around 30% when we move up the corporate ladder. Parenthood and careers are perceived as simultaneously achievable, but not mutually exclusive. So we have an increase in female employment, often on a part-time basis. Now it adds to the job satisfaction of most workers, but there's often negative consequences. Now, if fathers were to take on a greater role of unpaid care work, such as everything going on at the home and with their children, this would help the mothers to either re-enter the workforce or at least to get a balance within their life. Women do almost all the unpaid work in the home. It's one thing to know what you want, it's another thing to know how to get it. And that's what I'm going to teach you, how to get it. So, do you expect to be able to do everything, everyone, all the time? You know what? I bet you do. We all do, because we're women. But we can't keep doing this and remain happy, balanced, and healthy, neither physically or emotionally or psychologically. We need to change. We need to do something different. And my suggestion is, why not run your home like a business? Most people at work, we know how business works. We know we have to clock on, we know we have to delegate, we know we have to set a timetable, we know what we need to do at work, and all of our colleagues know what their role is at work. And you know what? It just happens. Everything just works well. There's no arguments, no sorting out messes. It just works. So, running your home like a business. And how do we organise a business? Well, we plan, we organise ourselves, we organise our staff, set timetables, critique outcomes, we adjust to ensure our goals, we mediate disputes, set financial goals, adhere to regulations, laws and expectations, arrange rosters and ensure it's fair for everyone. And this is exactly what your home can be like. Now, does it look familiar? All the things that we need to do in our home on a daily basis. So if you decide to do it all for yourself, then you have no right to complain. We need to delegate, to teach and train everyone within our family. As Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So in other words, we must do something different to get a different result or a better result. So what do we do? Well, we need to start making some positive changes. We need to change the balance. That's so important. Changes to balance in our life, creating time for you. We must have some time for ourselves. We put everyone first. Everyone is always before us. It's time to get some of that back. Not being selfish, because I don't think most women even know how to do that, even if they tried. But you need to make yourself a priority instead of being behind everyone. Women are the linchpin of the family. If they go down, the whole family crashes and burns. And we know that as well. So it is so vital that we look after the women. So we need to set a timetable, just like in business. So if your children are 7 years old, probably even from 5 years old upwards, task them a job or three. They can do it. Kids are very, very clever and resilient. And we know that when we pick them up from school or childcare and all the things that we're told that they've achieved and done throughout their day. So we discuss what family members need to do. We set tasks for everyone. This is a family. A family is involved. A family is not one person to do everything. And we need to get our partner on side, to come from a united front with our children, to start building resilience and independence in them. So if we're running a business, what do we need others to do? That's what we need to find out, how it will work, and everyone in the family needs a degree of responsibility. Women can't continue to take on all the responsibility for everything. In other words, if the washing wasn't brought in, it's like, okay, I'll just go and do it. If the ironing wasn't done, if the floors are dirty, if the sink's filled with dishes, instead of delegating or getting the person whose job it was to come out and do it, we just usually throw up our hands and go, I'll just do it myself, and that way it'll be done. That is what needs to stop, because that's not what would happen in a work situation. You wouldn't step in and do everyone's job for them. You would make sure that the people responsible do the jobs that they are responsible to do. So how does it work? Well, we need to decide what others will do. Not just our partner, but also our children or our parents if they're living with us in the same home. We set a timetable or roster, and I usually suggest a family meeting. We don't just throw it out and tell them. We actually engage with our family, and we sit down and we organise it and we work on it together. And we have everyone, especially your partner, participate. So we negotiate the timetable that will suit with everyone, given people's activities after school, after work and their sport. So we need to make sure that we fit in with everyone. Ask for assistance or hire help, arrange things that work, make adjustments and schedule in time for you. There's so much we need to do when we're running a home. And we need to model, we need to set the behaviour that we want our family to follow. We want to use the language to ensure that people do what it is that we ask and want them to do. And we want to be the person that others aspire to be, like our family, let alone our work colleagues. We want to provide an example of a balanced life, and we want to be a role model for our children and our staff. We need to be kind to ourselves. So home jobs, they need to be shared. We can grocery shop online. We can have someone do our ironing. We can get a weekly house cleaner or a fortnightly house cleaner. We can have a young person do our lawns. We can have a handyman do odd jobs. And we can work to our strengths and get others to do things. How many people have come into my counselling rooms complaining because she's saying, and he hasn't finished that back room in 2 years it's been sitting there. It drives me crazy. And they argue and they fight. And I just suggest, why don't you just pay a few $100s to the handyman and let him come and finish it? And then Dad can work all day Saturday, so he's still earning the money to do the job that perhaps he doesn't want to do. And it's like, oh, well, that's a thought. That's a good idea. So we resolve the conflict and the argument. And the reason it hasn't been resolved is because they haven't actually sat down and discussed it. And that's what we need to do, to communicate with our family and our partner. All the jobs that we need to do, and we shouldn't be doing them all ourselves and alone. So we need to stop being everything to everyone. Otherwise, we're no good to anyone. We need to prioritise for ourselves. We need to have family meetings to discuss the rules and the expectations and invite everyone. Family is not just you. It's not just one person. Enlist help and support and give everyone a break. Time for you every week is absolutely vital. Again, some of the jobs we need to do, and I could show slide after slide of everything that you need to do on a daily or weekly basis. And most of it is all done by the female that may work full-time as well. MasterChef. These children from the age of 7 were on our national television cooking Welsh pies, pavlovas, the age of 7 years old. Yet so many parents have children in their teens that have never as much as cut up a potato or a carrot. Now, whose fault is that? Well, unfortunately, it's ours. And so many women say, but I haven't had time to show them. I haven't had time to teach them. However, if you set 1 or 2 hours one Saturday and show them what to do and how to do it, praise them for it, I will guarantee you that they will want to do more. These children haven't become MasterChef brilliant cooks because mum did everything for them. They're that because they were given the opportunity to be their best. And they strive to be their best. Children always strive to do whatever they can, to be grown up, to be clever, to get praise from the parents. All we need to do is allow them to do it. I love this. If you want to keep children to their feet on the ground, put some responsibility on their shoulders. And that's exactly what we all need to do as parents with our kids. At any age, they can do any of these jobs that I'm sure most mums are doing every day themselves. And teenagers. Teenagers are very capable. My goodness, they go at 14 and a half to McDonald's or whatever to work. They are on a very strict timetable and a very tight rein at work. And they do it. Yes, they get paid minimal amounts, but they love their job at McDonald's or one of the other fast food restaurants or even at a supermarket that they go to. The expectations are very, very clear for them, and that's what's often missing in so many homes. You might say a throwaway comment, tidy your room, do the dishes, but when they go in a work situation, they read like a duty statement, ... point by point. You do this first, then you do that second, third and fourth. It's spelled out very clearly and very succinctly to each and every child. And they understand, they really do, and they go forth and they do it. All these kids are teenagers. They should start when they were younger, but if you've missed the boat when they're young, then certainly as teens, they should be all doing it now. They've got to keep the home running. And this is what you can do. House cleaning service, some people to do your housework, ironing service, babysitting service, lawns, meals delivered, handyman services, delivery with our groceries, even car cleaning. There's people to do everything for us that we need to do to free up our time and to give us a balance in our life. So how do we get them to do what we need? This is where it gets tricky. Communicate in the way to get what you want and what you need. We want to reduce the conflict, use words to empower your goals, subtly direct them, and always give them two choices. So how do you get your partner and your kids to help? By learning communication techniques. Language techniques work when speaking to your partner, your children, or even your work colleague. And different words create different results. So the same language techniques can be applied to everyone. This is where the words we use can have such an effect. Words can open up a conversation, or it can close it down. Words can encourage someone to do something, or they can make them turn around and walk the other way and ignore us. So it's all about the language we use. So how do we get them to do things? Because no one likes being told what to do. Our partner doesn't want to be nagged, and our children don't want to be bossed. And this is the complaint that most women hear. So how then do we delegate, discuss, guide, suggest, and set the tasks for them without being a boss, being bossy, or even a nag? So, as a quick example, some of the words that we never use, ever, in our home, to our partner or our children. You should. You need to. You must. Don't you? Did you ever? How dare you? You'd better. All of these words, they're conflictual words. As soon as someone hears them, bang, the hairs on the back of their neck are up. We're ready for a fight. You're not going to boss me around. You're not going to tell me what to do. So it falls down, and we'll never get what we want off the person. So we change it. Words to use. Perhaps you might. Do you mind? Could be, do you mind taking this out now, or do you mind fixing that up, or do you mind doing this? So it's a request, not a demand. Could you please? Now the way I see it is, and you give them your opinion, plant the seed, and then they're left with that to consider. Have you ever thought? Interesting point. Do you think you could? Thank you for sharing. And that's a good one to use if they come back at you with a comment that may be a little bit harsh. Instead of saying, don't talk to me like that, which is more conflict, it's like, thank you for sharing that. I'll take that on. I'll take that under advisement. In the meantime, do you mind doing that please now? So these are all the words that we use to reduce the conflict and to start guiding our family to do what it is that we want and we need them to do. Now, the words we can use sometimes result in different meaning without us knowing. Now, I say the word but. We all use it. However, it's a word that can create considerable misunderstanding. For instance, if I said, looking around, the lady over there, what was your name? Lorraine. Gee, Lorraine, I really like your dress and your hair. And then I could say, gee, Lorraine, I really like your dress, but your hair, it means completely different. The first one was, oh, she likes my hair. The second one is, what's wrong with my hair? What's wrong with it? She doesn't like it. I've used exactly the same tone, said exactly the same thing except for one word, but. Because but negates everything that we've just said. So she's not going to think that she likes my dress. She's just going to think, what's wrong with my hair? She doesn't like my hair. What's wrong with it? I better get a mirror. What's wrong? And that's all we're going to consume. It's going to consume us, and that's all we're going to think about. But I could have extended that and said, I really like your dress, but your hair is the best colour I have ever seen. Where did you get that done? And then it's okay. But most of us will make a judgment straight after that word, and then it's all negative from then on in. So we shut down and we don't hear. And this is what happens at home with our partners and our children so often when we're trying to get them to do something that we need them to do. So language is so important. And we learn to talk, we can hear. We don't really learn to communicate, which is the problem. Now, I mentioned choices. They're powerful, useful, they really empower us, and they assist us on agreeing with a solution. And we always and only give 2 choices. Now, choices provide us with chance of change, or the 3 C's. Now, what I mean by that is if the child or the partner is saying, you know, I don't want to do this, or I couldn't be bothered doing that, or I'm not going to do what it is you ask, that's when we step in and we give them the 2 choices. We don't say you need to, you should, you must. No. We step back and go, okay, thank you for sharing. Thanks for letting me know your opinion. That's really good to know. But I'm going to give you 2 choices, sweetheart. Now, it could be choice 1, could be, well, you can either take it out now, or you can take it out after you do such and such, which I'll get onto in a minute. Or it can be, well, you don't have to do it now, but if you don't do it, X is going to happen. And you know you're not going to enjoy X. So if you do it, Y will be the outcome. So what do you prefer? So we're not telling them what to do, but we're giving them a very clear choice that this one is not in their best interest. That one is best for them to do. So they will choose that. And when we choose, we own it. So we feel that it's our choice, we've owned it, we've made the choice, no one's told me what I have to do. So, as I was saying, language examples. Would you like to pack the dishwasher or put away the things off the table? We just ask the child, which one do they want to do? We're going to do one of them. Would you like to take out the rubbish before you have a shower or before you watch a show? Either way, they're going to take out the rubbish, but they're not being told. We're asking them. They'll make a choice. Are you planning on completing your homework before your show starts or before you take a shower tonight? So this is all the arguments that so many parents, mainly mums, have to put up with their children doing their homework. You can either choose to do A and go to your room, or you can choose B and then play your game. What do you choose? So again, make it the choice. We don't need to tell or bully or boss or nag anybody to do anything. Or you can choose not to place your clothes in the washing machines, which means you'll go to school with no clean undies, or you can choose to place them in the washing machine so you have clean ones to wear. What do you choose? So how many times do we yell, argue, whinge, whine, nag, whatever you want to use, that the clothes are sitting on the floor? And we go in and we pick them all up and we collect them and we put them in the machine and we wash them and we hang them up and we bring them in and we put them in their drawers. And we whinge and we whine and we complain. Leave them on the floor. Make sure they don't have any clean clothes. Let them go to school or even to work with dirty underwear or no underwear. Doesn't matter to us. We're not going there. They will very quickly, very, very quickly learn how to put their clothes in the washing machine or how to get them in off the line. So you can either pick up after yourself or your things will remain dirty on the floor. Whatever you do, it's your choice. So we take in the conflict out of our home. And when we take the conflict out of our home, we're reducing our stress levels considerably. Now, the other technique that's really good is the sandwich technique. Now, what we do is we base it on a solution. So many times we talk to our family when things are not being done that we need to be done, and we continually talk about the problem. You're not doing this. I've asked you to do that and you won't do it. You're always leaving this dirty, the cups in the sink. You're not doing this. You're not changing the sheets. You're not making bed. It's all very negative, and it's all being concentrated on the issue, the problem, and the conflict. So we want to get away with that. We don't want to be doing that in our daily lives at all. So we use the sandwich technique. So we start with a good and positive comment. And it could be, say the kids aren't tidying their room. And you've asked, but I've got some really good ways to get them to do that without any problem at all. But as an example, it's like, gee, you are such a clever kid and you've got such good marks at school, and oh my goodness, the way I saw you play soccer and the goal that you kicked last week, oh, my goodness, you're so clever. The issue. But sweetheart, your room is really untidy at the moment, so Mummy would really appreciate it if you could, not tidy it up, but pop the blocks on the shelf, put your shoes in the wardrobe, and pick up your clothes and pop them into the basket or the wardrobe. And then you finish off with 2 choices. So, would you like to do that now, or would you like to do it before you have lunch or before dinner? So we're giving the child the choices. So what we're doing is we're talking about the issue, but we're covering it over in the sandwich technique with the positives. That way, the person or the child in this instance doesn't feel that they're being picked on. We're not damaging their self-esteem, that we're always telling them that they're doing something wrong. And this is another bit of an issue that a lot of our children are experiencing, and our partners often do as well. That things that come out of the mum's mouth or the woman's mouth always seems to be negative. I can't do anything right. I'm always making a mistake. Nothing's ever good enough. And we don't want that in the home. That is certainly not the way that anybody wants to have their children or their partner feel. But that's often the way that they're left feeling. And this sort of technique does away with all of that. It's very simple and it is so effective. So what it is that you want to need. So to get this all worked out, you need to make a list of what it is you need in the home. And it's going to be probably a fairly long list. What can make your life easier? So if you can order in groceries online, if you can get a person to do your lawn, someone to come in and do the house every couple of weeks, someone to do your ironing, utilise any of those services that you can. We want support. We want to allocate time for ourselves. You need to allocate time. Now that could be 1 hour down the beach, after work, before work, or on a Sunday afternoon. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go for a swim. Every Sunday at 6 o'clock, I'm going for a swim at the pool because it clears my head, it gives me some exercise, and it just allows me to stop doing everything for everyone else. So we need to allocate time for ourselves. So you've got to figure out how far you want to move up your career ladder and what you need to do to ensure that you can do that, because women as well as men are permitted to move up in their careers as much or as high as they want. And they should never be restricted simply because they've got children or a home. That is never correct. So what needs to change? How can you use perhaps family support? How much time can you give them? And what do you need to do for you? These are all the questions that women have probably never considered or even asked themselves. So I want you to take a moment and just have a think, or even write down, what is it that is your goal? Have a think what your goal is. Write down. And just have a think for a minute, if you like, how do you see your life in 5 years from now? What are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be? What have you wanted to achieve? So in 5 years from now, what does your life look like for you? Because often women are so busy doing the day-to-day work and management of themselves and their home and their job and their family. We don't actually afford ourselves any time to look forward, to project forward, and to set a goal. So consider it just for a moment now. 5 years from now, where do you see your life? How do you want it to look? And once we get that, we need to set the steps to get there. And I don't mean this is where I am now and that's where I want to be. That's not the steps that I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the smaller steps and even some of the sub-steps. For instance, if you say, I want to get a law degree. I'm here now, I'm working full time, but I want to get a law degree. Okay, great. We're not going to get a law degree. We need to enrol in a university. Which university? Well, one that may do it online, or one that I can get to easily. 1 or 2 units, or even 1 unit every semester will do. The next one, what do I do then? Well, how do I pay for it? You know, will work support me? Will I get study time? Will my partner or children help when I need to disappear for 1 day a week to study? So we set all of the steps. And then it may even be up to the stage of, you know, I need to get into a paralegal job in a firm to help support me do this and through this process. So these are all the steps that we need. Many of us are great at setting a goal, but most of us forget how to set all the steps and the sub-steps to actually reach that goal, which is why, unfortunately, so many people become very, very down on themselves or very depressed because they've never actually reached that goal. But you can reach it, as long as you know how to set the steps to get there. Consider your priorities. What are they? And sometimes we need to adjust our goals a little further out, if our priorities right now may be caring for our elderly parents, raising our very young children, or, you know, our partner may be in the middle of his law degree or doctorate or whatever it is. So our priorities need to be slightly adjusted depending on what's going on in our life. And then, how does that fit in with your goals? And then we go straight back up to the top, and we may need to reassess our goal and do it again. So it isn't just a one process that we're doing. It's a circular process, and one that we need to adjust sometimes on a reasonably regular or yearly basis. So I'd just like to thank you so much for coming along today and listening to the presentation, and I really do hope that you've learnt something from today. I will have some additional information for most of you to read, particularly about that language that we use and how to address our family and speak to our family to get the results that you want and get the help and support. But the main thing that I want you to take away with you today is that everyone here, particularly the women and some of the men, deserve time to themselves. Everyone deserves time to themselves. We're not on this planet for a long time. We're here for a short time. And while we love our jobs and we work and we love our family, the fact is that we, the females, are the linchpin in our family. We need to look after ourselves, and it needs to be much fairer than certainly it has been over the last few decades. And if any of you do have young sons, then please make sure that you enable them to do all the jobs at home that you as a woman have learnt to do from your mum. And if mums can start teaching our sons to do all of these things, then when our sons grow up to be dads, then the world will absolutely start to change, because the girls will expect the boys to be doing exactly the same as what they are, and it's not just left to the female. So again, thank you so very much.